The room was quiet in a way that only important rooms ever are. Not empty, just holding its breath. Yu Menglong stood near the window. City lights stretched beneath him like a constellation drawn by human ambition. Cars moved in thin streams, orderly and obedient. From above, everything looked controlled, designed, predictable, but he knew better. Nothing about his rise had been accidental, and nothing about what followed was either. People love the word accident. It's comforting. It suggests randomness, luck, coincidence. It allows observers to believe that success or resistance simply happens. Yu Menglong's story was often framed that way. A talented actor, right place, right time, a face that fit the frame, a career that bloomed naturally. That narrative was easy. It was also wrong, because accidents leave no patterns. And Yu's journey was full of them. Long before the applause, there were moments that didn't quite fit the script. Subtle things. Easy to dismiss unless you were paying attention. In early interviews, while others leaned into charm or spectacle, you spoke carefully. Not cautiously, precisely. His words landed with intention, like he was measuring the space between what could be said and what should be said. When asked about fame, he didn't glorify it. When asked about power, he didn't flatter it. He spoke about responsibility, about stories shaping people more than people shape stories. Viewers smiled. Producers nodded. Executives barely noticed, but the signs were there. He chose roles that carried weight rather than noise. Characters with quiet fractures, moral tension, unresolved truths. He avoided easy heroism. He leaned toward complexity. That was not an accident. That was a preference. Behind the scenes, Yu Menglong worked like someone preparing for something he couldn't yet name. He watched more than he spoke, listened longer than necessary. On set, while others relaxed between takes, he studied, not just scripts, people who held authority, who deferred, who smiled too quickly, who stayed silent when questions arose. Power reveals itself in habits. You noticed them all. There were moments when he could have pushed harder for visibility, chased louder roles, taken shortcuts that promised faster recognition. He didn't, not because he lacked ambition, but because he understood timing. Truth spoken too early is ignored. Truth spoken too loudly is dismissed. Truth spoken calmly, at the right moment, changes things. That kind of patience is learned. The shift didn't announce itself with drama. It never does. It began with discomfort. Scripts that soften edges. Scenes rewritten to avoid implications. Suggestions framed as creative alignment. You didn't refuse outright. He asked questions. Why does this character change here? What does this silence mean? What were we afraid the audience might notice? Questions are dangerous when systems rely on assumption. Some laughed him off. Some answered vaguely. Some stopped asking him for input altogether. Still, the public saw none of this. They saw polished appearances, steady success, a career moving forward without visible conflict. But inside the machinery, something had already shifted. Yu Menglong wasn't playing along blindly. There was an interview barely remembered now by most viewers. It passed like background noise in the endless stream of media content. A simple question about creative freedom. Yu paused. That pause was not hesitation. It was calculation. He answered without confrontation, without accusation. He spoke about honesty in storytelling, about the quiet responsibility artists carry. He didn't name names. He didn't challenge authority directly, but he didn't lie. It didn't explode. It didn't trend wildly, but it landed exactly where it needed to. Those who understood, noticed. Those who didn't, ignored it. After that, the system responded, not with force, but with adjustment. Opportunities thinned. Projects stalled. Communication became formal, neutral, distant. No one said you've gone too far. They didn't have to. Pressure has its own grammar. You understood it immediately. And instead of retreating, he did something unexpected. He refined. If his space was narrowing, his focus would sharpen. He studied characters who stood alone inside institutions. Men who understood the cost of truth, but chose it anyway. He stripped his performances of excess, leaving only intention. Audiences began to feel it. There was something different now. A steadiness. a gravity. His presence on screen carried consequence. When the script arrived, it didn't come through the usual channels. It arrived quietly, almost cautiously, like something unsure whether it would be welcomed. The story was dangerous in its simplicity. A man facing a choice. Security through silence or loss through honesty. No spectacle. No villains in shadows. Just systems, expectations, pressure. You read it once. Then again. By the third time, he wasn't reading anymore. He was recognizing. This role didn't change his direction. It revealed it. Accepting meant risk. Declining meant safety. The decision wasn't dramatic. It was inevitable. The filming process was intense, not because of chaos, but because of restraint. Scenes demanded stillness. Dialogue cut close to truth. Silences stretched uncomfortably long. In one pivotal scene, Yu's character stands alone, framed against a structure larger than himself. He speaks softly. He does not shout. He does not beg. He states. When the camera rolled, something shifted. The crew felt it. Not excitement, recognition. Yu wasn't imagining the moment. He was remembering every ignored sign that led here. When the scene ended, no one rushed forward. No one spoke. They all knew something irreversible had been captured. When the project was released, reactions divided cleanly. Some called it brave. Some called it unnecessary. Some avoided discussing it at all. The industry recalculated. What couldn't be ignored anymore was that audiences connected deeply. Not loudly, but sincerely. Messages came in from viewers who felt seen, unsettled, understood. They recognized the honesty, and that recognition spread. Truth, once spoken clearly, creates permission. Other stories resurfaced. Other creators took risks. Conversations shifted tone, if not direction. Yu Menglong did not lead a rebellion. He made it possible. In hindsight, the pattern is clear. The roles chosen, the questions asked, the pauses held, the calm under pressure, the refusal to trade depth for safety. None of it was random. Yu Menglong was an accident. He was a build-up. Every ignored signal, every dismissed moment, every quiet decision stacked carefully until a collision was inevitable. Today, when you stand beneath studio lights, there is no illusion left. He does not perform certainty. He embodies it. He understands power now, not as something to fear, but something to negotiate with clarity. He understands truth, not as a weapon, but as weight. And he understands something else too. People will always call it luck. They will always know the comfort of accident. They will always ignore signs until they can't. But he never needed them to see it early. He only needed them to see it eventually, because this was never about surprise. It was about inevitability, and it was always there, waiting to be noticed. The surprise did not arrive with applause. It arrived quietly, almost politely, as if it understood the kind of man it was meant for. Yu Menglong first sensed it on a night when the city felt unusually distant. He had just returned home after a long day, shoulders heavy with exhaustion that had nothing to do with work. The lights of nearby buildings blinked steadily, indifferent. He loosened his collar, poured a glass of water, and let the silence settle. Then his phone vibrated. One notification. No fanfare. No explanation. An email marked simply, confidential, private viewing invitation. He hesitated before opening it. Inside was a short message from an international cultural foundation, one that rarely reached out directly and never without intention. They had been following his recent work. Not the headlines, not the reactions, the choices, the restraint, the risks that weren't announced but taken anyway. They were offering him something unusual. Not a role, not an award. Control. The message explained that they were funding a limited series, small, deliberate, uncompromising. A story about power structures, silence, and the quiet cost of integrity. And they wanted you not just as a lead, but as a creative voice. Script input, casting discussions, final approval. A gift like this didn't come without meaning. You leaned back, eyes fixed on the ceiling, breath slow. This was not validation in the traditional sense. This was not the industry saying we approve. This was something rarer. This was trust. The irony did not escape him. The moment he stopped chasing protection, it arrived disguised as responsibility. The first private meeting took place in a dimly lit room far from studios and red carpets. No photographers, no assistants hovering nearby, just a table, a few chairs, and faces that listened more than they spoke. They didn't flatter him. They didn't apologize for the industry. They simply acknowledged what most people avoided saying out loud. "We noticed how you didn't bend," one of them said calmly, "and how you didn't break." The words hung in the air. You didn't respond immediately. He had learned that silence, when used intentionally, reveals more than speech ever could. They showed him the concept notes, the early drafts, the raw, unpolished truth of a story that would never be safe, but would be honest. This was the second part of the gift. The first had been recognition. The second was agency. As production began, something changed in the way you moved through sets. Not louder, not more dominant, just steadier. He asked questions not to challenge authority, but to sharpen truth. He protected scenes that felt fragile. He defended silences others wanted to fill. Crew members noticed. Younger actors noticed even more. There was one evening during rehearsals when a new actor struggled through a scene heavy with implication. He hesitated, worried about how it might be received. The room grew tense, eyes drifting toward you, waiting for direction. You walked over quietly and said, "If it makes you uncomfortable, it probably means it matters." The room exhaled. That sentence traveled further than he ever intended. The real surprise revealed itself closer to the end of production. One night, after filming wrapped late, the director asked you to stay back. The crew left one by one, until only the two of them remained under half-dim lights. The director handed him a small envelope. Inside was a letter, not official, not contractual. It was signed by several people. Writers, editors, crew members, people whose names never appeared in headlines. They thanked him, not for success, not for exposure, for permission. They wrote about moments when they almost stayed silent, almost softened a line, almost avoided a difficult choice and didn't. Because watching him stand calmly, consistently, without spectacle, had reminded them that integrity doesn't need noise. You folded the letter carefully, hands steady, throat tight. This was the gift no one talked about. Influence without dominance, leadership without command, change without rebellion. When the series finally aired, reactions were immediate but not chaotic. Conversations were thoughtful. Critics leaned forward instead of shouting. Viewers sat with scenes longer than expected. Silence became part of the experience. The industry didn't collapse. Power didn't disappear. But something shifted. Doors opened for stories that had waited patiently. Creators felt braver about asking difficult questions. Executives listened a little longer before saying no. And Yu Menglong? He didn't announce a victory. He didn't claim a movement. He simply kept choosing carefully. Late one night, months later, he returned to that same window overlooking the city. The lights below looked the same as before, orderly, predictable. But he knew better now. The surprise gift had never been about status or control. It was about alignment, about discovering that when you refuse to be an accident, the world eventually responds with intention. Truth doesn't always arrive as confrontation. Sometimes it arrives as an unexpected offering, placed quietly in your hands, asking a single question in return. What will you do with this? Yu Menglong already had his answer.